Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. This place was truly dazzling, drawing many eyes. More than 10 stalks of holy medicines were displayed together, producing a scene that was rare to see even within a secret realm. Every single stalk of holy medicine was enough to make exceptional talent's eyes go red, because they were just too rare. They were usually planted alone and grew within a dangerous spot. Rarely did so many of them rest side by side like this. Why was this the case? Someone asked, feeling that this was inconceivable. They were all originally spiritual medicines, yet in the end, they all transformed into holy medicines. It is because the lower realm's natural laws are incomplete. When they were brought up, after being irrigated with heaven and earth Tao, most of them couldn't endure the pressure and withered up. These were the only dozen or so stalks that were different, sticking through and undergoing a transformation. Everyone became stupefied. They were unexpectedly like creatures. When cultivators came from small worlds and refined their bodies, able to pass the trials, their fundamental characteristics would improve substantially. Of course, this was too difficult for most people. Shahao asked earnestly for guidance, wishing to see just who it was exactly that brought these up from the lower realm. In the end, he learned that it was a father and daughter pair. He was now sure that it was Fire Emperor and Hualinga. Only, when he wanted to learn more about this and inquire further, the experts that tended to this medicinal field didn't know. His mood became much better, but then, Shahao's face suddenly changed. He released a miserable scream. This gave those around him a fright. Someone was howling so miserably next to such an auspicious medicinal field, making others' eardrums about to split. Are you okay? A young lady asked out of concern. A few others looked over. Apologies, I've been possessed by the devil. I'll be fine, after screaming a few more times. Shahao scowled miserably and said. Many people rolled their eyes. What kind of background does Huang have exactly? So formidable, even defeating Immortal Palace Inheritor. When I heard this, I didn't even dare believe it. Some people mentioned Shahao, triggering a heated debate. He is someone from Supreme Being Tao, right? So he was destined to stand against Immortal Palace. However, his situation isn't looking good. The one he defeated was Immortal Palace Inheritor's second body. If the true body came, that would be unimaginable. Immortal Palace's inheritor unexpectedly divided himself into two. Recently, news has been going around everywhere that he was going to become one again. When that time came, he would be unmatched under the heavens, having no opponents among his peers. This gave all sects headaches. This was a terrifying figure that blocked the paths of exceptional talents from all clans. I support Huang, believe that he can win over Immortal Palace's person. A girl who wore purple clothes said. She was young and pretty, and on her forehead were some black patterns. This didn't ruin her beauty, but instead added a bit of bewitching style, mysterious and beautiful. Shahao was shocked. When he heard her voice, he knew that this was the girl that was acting ostentatiously within that purple golden carriage before, speeding along and making other supreme experts move out of the way. Who is she? She was acting so brash. What kind of background does she have exactly? Someone asked softly, feeling quite curious about her identity. Hellbrand clan's Pearl, their clan's most powerful young genius at present, named Qian Yao. The unmatched young expert that will appear is related to her. Everyone became shocked. Hellbrand clan was definitely a well-known great clan. They specialized in symbols, engraving all types of patterns on their bodies. Their magical techniques were world-shocking. There were many legendary individuals who emerged from this clan. Young Miss Qian Yao, you that sure that Huang will win? But from our perspective, he doesn't even have a 10% chance of winning. There were those who shook their heads. It was just a passing thought, because I think Immortal Palace is unsightly, always thinking themselves as the rulers of the world. Everyone knows that there are quite a few inheritances that can suppress them in this world, let alone back then when Supreme Hall was still in this world. Did they dare act arrogant back then? Hellbrand clan's Qian Yao said. Many people became speechless. There were some who felt the urge to ask this bossy young lady why she doesn't give Immortal Palace's inheritor a try. Even though Huang will be defeated, there are still others who can kill Immortal Palace's inheritor. I am sure that this time, he will suffer a great disaster. Hellbrand clan's Qian Yao flourished with vigor as she daringly spoke. Young Miss Qian Yao, don't tell me that you are going to persuade that unmatched hero to take action. Someone asked probingly. When these words were spoken, it was difficult for this place to calm down again. Many people's hearts jumped fiercely. Even if there are unmatched heroes who take action, they still might not be able to deal with Immortal Palace's inheritor. Once he completes his merging in the Supreme Expert realm, how many people could have faced him since the ancient times? He will definitely be defeated, Qian Yao said. Shahao revealed a look of shock, because this woman from the purple golden carriage was too arrogant and domineering, insufferably arrogant. However, it now looked like apart from her ostentatious behavior, she wasn't all that bad. This place naturally became lively. Many people discussed who the top 10 experts of the present world's younger generation were. Young Miss Qian Yao, will that unmatched hero really come? Yes. Hellbrand clan's young lady replied, her expression serious, no longer frivolous. Chang Gongyang is going to appear again, someone said with a low voice. Everyone's expressions changed, feeling incomparably shocked that person really came. The people within the manor were all experts who came from different clans, inheritors of great ancient sects, but right now, even these arrogant supreme experts were trembling. They took to the sky, following after her. The gathering of geniuses was thus cut short. Everyone rushed towards that direction. They had reason to believe that this so-called gathering wouldn't just be a pretense, but only because they really foresaw the reappearance of that person and were just waiting for him. Shahao revealed a look of shock, following alone. It was because he knew that this person was ridiculously powerful, definitely transcending into sainthood, a formidable figure. Several tens of li out, in front of a cliff, a male stood alone, his expression sorrowful. He was muttering to himself, as if he was offering sacrifices and prayers. Occasionally, he would release a great cry, the sound so great many supreme experts couldn't take it, unable to approach. They could only watch from the distance. Every single person had a look of horror on their face. A few people, because they got too close, directly fell onto the ground, going unconscious. This is Chang Gongyang. Everyone trembled. How powerful was he exactly? They were all at the Supreme Expert realm, yet just the emotions he released alone made a few Supreme Experts faint. This was too terrifying. Correct, he is the legendary Chang Gongyang. This name possessed a strange power, making some of the people here tremble with fear. There were some that revealed passionate expressions as well, staring in that direction. Chang Gongyang had appeared in this world 4 times, each time coming first in the battle of 3,000 geniuses, seizing the #1 place under the heavens. Someone said. When these words were spoken, even those that didn't understand things too clearly were shocked, feeling great waves stirring within their hearts. They were incomparably shocked. Under the bright moon, that man was broken-hearted. He wore black clothes, his body not all that strong or muscular, instead a bit frail. He could still be considered handsome, but his eyes were very clear, carrying tears. This was a weak, almost young and inexperienced-looking male. He was incomparably emotional, offering sacrifices alone under the moonlight. This is Chang Gongyang, the male who is undefeated in the Supreme Expert realm. This was clearest with Qian Yao. She was a bit nervous, her voice gentle as she advised, you don't need to feel broken-hearted. If old ancestor aunt knew about this, she will definitely wish for you to smile and not be like this. Chang Gongyang gazed towards the moon, feeling incomparably lonely. Tears tumbled down, his true feelings pouring outwards. Just these natural weeping sounds made many Supreme Expert tremble uncontrollably. You are called Qian Yao, right? Do not behave ostentatiously because of my existence. Chang Gongyang calmed down and spoke. It was clear that he had been here for a period of time already, witnessing Qian Yao's behavior. That's not the case, it's just that my nature is too lively. In the future I definitely won't be like this. Qian Yao stammered, her face completely red. Suddenly, a person appeared above the cliff, one that wore golden clothes that shone with dazzling brilliance. It was as if the sun in the sky had descended. It is good that it is you. Come and fight. The golden-clothed male spoke. A sharp sword appeared in his hands, pointing forward. Sword energy surged, shaking the heavens. Everyone trembled. What was this person? To dare take action against Chang Gongyang even though his age didn't seem that great? Chang Gongyang raised a finger, colliding with the sword radiance. This place erupted, and cracks appeared in the void one after another, sword core made from immortal gold. Actually fighting a decisive battle against Chang Gongyang, is it, another ancient freak? Everyone became stupefied. Resplendent multicolored light flickered about. These two disappeared into thin air, immediately vanishing. Only Shahao saw that they left through a void crack, selecting a place to fight. Ha, it's been 4 generations already, still shedding tears for a woman who has sinner's blood running through her veins. Chang Gongyang has so many emotions, it'll be difficult for you to become unmatched. Another person appeared on the cliff, a woman who also wore golden clothes, someone from Sword Valley? Qian Yao's eyes revealed a strange light. Then, she was greatly shaken up, realizing who that golden-clad male was. At the same time, the others were shocked as well, understanding that this was an ancient unmatched hero that came from Sword Valley. Suddenly, a streak of thunder sounded. A symbols condensed on a youth's forehead, holy light surging into the sky, illuminating the mountains and rivers. What? Everyone began to tremble inwardly, crying out loudly. The golden-cloaked woman on the cliff was shocked and in disbelief. With a trembling voice, she said, "The one who engraved the sin character in the heavens, illuminating the heavens, that person was you." The bright moon rested in the air, shining and brilliant. There were many cultivators in front of the cliff, and at this moment, they were all shocked, staring over, every single one of them stupefied. Their hearts were beating fiercely, their souls even trembling. That youth was too shocking, condensing a symbol on his forehead, resplendent and blazing like a heavenly Sunday. It rose up and illuminated the heavens. Sinner's blood? What sin exactly? Who was the one that decided this? You. Shahao spoke, his eyes cold. There wasn't any emotion to speak of within them. Many people were terrified. This level of sinner's blood was definitely comparable to the ancient great vicious existences, right? They had never seen it before, and even in legends, it did not surpass this. You, what exactly are you? On the cliff, the golden-clad woman asked with a trembling voice. This type of scene was one of a kind. Sinner's blood patterns formed, illuminating the night sky. It was unimaginable. She came from Sword Valley, one of the clan's most powerful young experts, as well as someone under the direct line of descent. Sword Valley, the #1 sect of Sword Province. Even if one looked through all 3,000 provinces, they would still be the #1 inheritance. Otherwise, how could they nurture an unmatched hero, sweeping through all of the higher realms' young heroes since the ancient times, claiming the title of #1 under the heavens? Shahao didn't say anything, only staring coldly at her. He hated that kind of saying. What right did they have to give them this vile title, descendants with sinner's blood? It was one thing if there really was a sin, but these symbols had clearly represented a type of glory and honor in the past. Shahao was calm. The holy light on his forehead surged, illuminating the heavens, forming a sin character and engraving itself in the void. It scattered the clouds, shining brilliantly. This type of scene left not only the golden-clad woman in fear, even the other cultivators were horrified. It was likely that the heavenly deities of all sides would be shocked as well, rarely seen since the ancient times. Only the people of Sin Province became stupefied. Whose bloodline did this person belong to? How could someone display such powerful sinner's blood patterns in the present era? It was inconceivable. Shahao's aura surged, exuding a powerful pressure. He walked forward step by step, pressing towards Sword Valley's woman, sinner's bloodline. Your ancestors were great vicious beings, so how is my way of address inappropriate? It has already been accepted by many great sects. The golden-clad woman spoke. Even though she was inwardly shocked, she still displayed confidence, staring at that youth. She didn't believe that this youth would take action, because the clan's unmatched hero had just appeared to fight Zhang Gongyang. You are saying that within our bodies flow the blood of sinners, bringing disaster onto the world under the heavens? Please tell me what era it was that our ancestors stirred up chaos in. Shahao said. He truly wanted this golden-clad woman to speak about some hidden information so he could understand some more, understand the truth. You, what are you saying? The golden-clad woman's expression changed. Regardless, she couldn't accept the berating of another. This person didn't treat her with any respect. One has to understand that she was the disciple of the one of the higher realm's greatest inheritances, and she was ranked within the most powerful few. No matter where she went, no one dared to show her contempt. Moreover, with their clan's previously dormant most powerful hero reappearing in this world, appearing here just now, who dared to show any disrespect among this generation of people? What I am saying is that you are completely insignificant, actually daring to speak such nonsense. Shahao said calmly, you are challenging my Sword Valley's dignity. The golden-clad woman said. She looked at Shahao, reminding him that Sword Valley was one of the higher realm's most ancient inheritances. No one could provoke it. This place trembled violently, because Shahao flung out a fist, smashing outwards like a mountain peak. Great wind stirred about, making the void tremble. You, the golden-cloaked woman's eyes widened with anger. This was clearly to deal with her, not fearing Sword Valley. She took action with everything she had, her entire body roiling with sword energy, forming golden light. It condensed in her right hand to face that great sleeve. Shahao's great sleeve smashed over, incomparably ferocious, blasting this girl until she flew backwards, blood flowing from the corners of her mouth. There were many cultivators here, all well-known figures of their clans. When they saw this scene, there wasn't a single one who didn't reveal shock. One of Sword Valley's most powerful geniuses was unexpectedly blasted until she coughed out blood. At the same time, everyone trembled. This person was extremely wild and vicious, not even giving Sword Valley face, taking action when he should. He was extremely dangerous. You, as a descendant with sinner's blood, are you going to challenge the order established by great sects? The sects had long come to an agreement that they couldn't tolerate the chaos you all bring. The golden-clad woman said, "Is that so? So what if I challenge it?" Shahao said, his entire body shining, becoming quite a bit more powerful. For some reason, when the sin character appeared in the sky, his forehead producing holy light, whenever he used magical force, the sinner's blood within him would become even more rich, releasing tens of thousands of streaks of radiance. It was as if a type of glory was manifesting, shocking even himself. What vicious! This is to teach you a lesson. Shahao said, "My clan's Gu Jianyun already appeared in this world. Do not act rashly." The golden-clad woman said. When the three characters Gu Jianyun were spoken, this place became completely still. No one uttered a word. He was like a taboo, weighing suffocatingly down on everyone. Sword Valley, Gu Jianyun, this was a legend. In the ancient era, his name shook all 3,000 provinces, ruling over the immortal ancient and overlooking all of his peers. The slaughter he unleashed left exceptional talents shaking. With his sword in hand, there were no others who could contend against him under the heavens. A sword core had appeared in his body since he was young, the brilliant sword radiance overlooking all others, known as someone who killed all of his enemies, that golden-clad male from just now, right? Shahao asked, "Exactly." Sword Valley's girl raised her head, revealing an arrogant expression. This was their Sword Valley's heaven-warping geniuses. How many people could face him since the ancient times? Regardless of whether it was the past or present, as long as the name Gu Jianyun was spoken, all would retreat, the heroes from all sides lowering their heads, not daring to clash with him. This was also the reason why Sword Valley's disciples dared to throw their weight around. Just like she said, their clan's unmatched hero has arrived. These words were too shocking, no cultivators were willing to provoke them. However, tonight, they encountered trouble. Shahao didn't care about this at all. When he heard these words, his aura instead surged further, decisively taking action. "You are bringing a disaster onto your clan master, your inheritance, bringing a bloody disaster onto your clansmen." The golden-clad woman threatened while quickly backing up. Shahao displayed his might, fast to the point where she couldn't fight normally, only able to fight intensely. The golden-clad woman was extremely arrogant. As one of the clan's most powerful inheritors, how could she be willing to be suppressed by another and even looked down upon like this? In that instant, sword radiance weaved through the air, hacking downwards. This place was covered by bone texts, filled with sword energy. It was dazzling. However, soon after, a light sound rang through the air. Half a broken sword flew out, separating from the battlefield, landing on the moonlit great earth. That was Sword Valley's divine magical sword. How much time had passed, yet that youth already broke it. Sword light illuminated everything, the night sky becoming as bright as day. Shahao turned into a sword before rushing over. Scarlet blood splashed outwards in all directions. The golden-clad woman's eyes were widened greatly, not daring to believe this result. Blood flowed from the space between her brows. Everyone was shocked. They saw that Shahao seemed to have passed through Sword Valley's most powerful female disciple's body, all of their hearts beating frantically, not harming any other region, only the space between the brows bleeding. Everyone became doubtful, because they didn't see any other injuries on her body. However, soon after, they discovered that the golden-clad woman's eyes lost luster. Then with a pu sound, she began to split apart starting from the space between her brows all the way downwards. Large amounts of blood scattered down. She was divided into two, long hacked apart by the blade radiance. Shahao changed his body into a sword, killing her in the instant they passed by each other. Only because the speed was too fast, only now did everyone notice what had happened, truly too formidable, decisively killing Sword Valley's inheritor. Hellbrand clan's Qian Yao clapped, applauding and cheering loudly. As for the other cultivators, many of them had faces full of shock. Killing Sword Valley's disciple like this, decisive and calm, what a powerful youth, a descendant with sinner's blood killed Sword Valley's inheritor. This will definitely raise a huge storm. The supreme experts that came from all different provinces were stupefied. The so-called unmatched legend Gu Jianyun might very well still be close by, yet this youth still took action. The consequences of this would be tremendous. Be careful. No one can match Gu Jianyun. Cultivators that also had the blood of sinners within them secretly reminded in an urgent voice. Shahao didn't say anything, his expression calm. The symbol on his forehead instead became even more resplendent. Everyone was shaken. This descent of sinner blood, this type of powerful appearance seemed to be making a type of declaration. Was he going to be the ambassador for the sinner's bloodline? This is not sin, it is glory and brilliance, the glorious imprint of the past. Sure enough, that youth spoke these words, his voice resounding through the air, deafening as it fell onto everyone's ears. This was a type of proclamation, even more so a declaration to the entire world. This is not a type of shame, but an accumulation of the past blood and flames. In another world, this symbol represents the brilliant glory and accomplishments. El Shahou spoke, overlooking everyone. Many people from different sects lowered their heads, not willing to look straight at him. Those that call us the descendants of sinners' blood, do you truly understand what you all are doing? Shahou's voice became overcast, and then he said coldly, anyone who wishes to put guilt on my head, dares to pass judgment, feel free to come at me. This was definitely a challenge. He did not fear the order those great sects issued. In the eyes of supreme experts from different sects, this was a great omen of danger. A terrifying youth emerged from the descendants of sinners, one who was going to challenge the new order. Moonlight shone down, pure and bright. That youth stood on the cliff alone, the corners of his clothes fluttering about, the light released from his forehead piercing into the heavens. There was a heaven overflowing domineeringness. Jiu Jianyun didn't return, fighting intensely against Chang Gongyang. They disappeared like that, stirring up bewilderment and speculation within the crowd. Shahou didn't remain here either, thus disappearing. In this unmanned place, he hacked open the void with the halberd, disappearing from Fire City. Sure enough, not long after he left, heavenly deities descended. They were incredibly shocked. How much time had passed? Yet that Sin character that scattered the clouds appeared a second time. A few sects of Sin province were looking forward to seeing this individual, while the other provinces' experts from great sects had extremely gloomy expressions. We were a step too late again. A heavenly deity sighed softly. This person must be found. The Sin character rushed into the sky, only a few examples of this happening in history. It could even be said that it was rarely seen in near ancient history, it was just too shocking. That night, no one could remain calm. He gained insights from the battle and is going to improve a step further. Everyone was shocked. Even the heavenly deities were speechless. They were all shocked. Brilliant sword light illuminated the world, harmonizing with all things between heaven and earth, becoming one. This truly was shocking. He was still so young, yet he already had this type of comprehension. They had a feeling that once Jiu Jianyun became a deity, then that would be extremely terrifying. His battle prowess would be world-shaking. Chang Gongyang also appeared, looking quite calm, as if nothing happened at all. He looked at the morning sun, observed the setting sun, and then departed. Deities with mysterious backgrounds are targeting him, wishing to harm him. Someone released this type of news. Something that left everyone stupefied happened. Chang Gongyang returned to his natural state, walking along the great earth. He couldn't feel anything at first, but later on, those nefarious deities were all watching helplessly as he lost them. A few powerful deities wanted to take action, but they could only watch helplessly as he left to the distance, merging into heaven and earth. This naturally left all sides shocked, triggering a huge storm. There were sect masters that sighed deeply. Once this person grew up, he would definitely be at the top of this world. The one that spoke this was not an ordinary sect master, but rather one of the higher realm's greatest inheritances, Western sect's leader. This would undoubtedly create a huge commotion. Chang Gongyang and Jiu Jianyun's appearance made others truly aware of how terrifying the unmatched ancient heroes were. They had previously reigned undefeated in past generations, having their own accomplishments to justify their power. Only at this moment did people feel that kind of pressure, that type of powerlessness. The appearance of a single one of these individuals would perhaps suppress all the young heroes of this world. Once Immortal Palace's inheritor merged through the most powerful method, he might be unmatched as well, right? However, of the snow-covered freaks, any one of them could pierce through the heavens. They were all the very best, perhaps being even more powerful. The great Tao inheritances had many young geniuses, but right now, they all felt a type of formless pressure. This was just too hard to resist. Once this night passed and the morning sunlight shone brilliantly, there were rumors spreading everywhere. It was hard for the world to calm down. Of course, apart from Jiu Jianyun and Chang Gongyang, there was another reason for such restlessness. That day, news traveled in all directions. Not all of the young geniuses felt powerless. Some of them were excited and greatly stirred up, their fighting spirit surging. In front of a purple mountain, a youth with blood-colored hair, an individual who was quite wild, struggled free from his shackles, rigidly breaking out. Not far out, an old servant was horrified. Those were divine chains made of top-level precious materials, and there were natural laws infused within them as well. Not even true deities could do anything about them, yet the young male broke through. The old man feared that I would cause chaos, locking me up, but he still can't trap me. Let's go, it's time for a massacre. Great heaven burning out has already been refined to the ancient predecessor's level, so how can its brilliance not be displayed to the world? Immortal Palace Inheritor is hiding in that tattered copper palace, merging into a true body, not willing to come out, so I can't kill him. I guess I have to go to Sin Province. Two of those of ancient frozen fellas have appeared at the same time. It really is something to look forward to, a meal for me to devour. You must not. The old servant on the side advised. However, this time, this youth couldn't be stopped. A streak of fiery light flashed, and then this blood-haired youth disappeared from this place. A great void crack appeared in his original location. This is bad. The old servant felt nervous, but it was useless. That day, Green Province was shaken up. For inheritors from an ancient inheritance in this sect fought together against someone, but they were all blasted apart. Then, the adjacent province was stirred up. The Grey Flood Dragon race's #1 expert had his Flood Dragon tendons ripped out to use as a belt. Then, Bright Province that bordered that place had an exceptional talent killed, burned to ashes. This triggered a huge disturbance, because it was all caused by a single person. He crossed several provinces like a great calamity, killing many young experts along the way. They were all the most powerful experts of a clan. Great Heaven Burning Out has appeared, refined to the limit, but there is still room for methods of improving its power. It has completely unmatched power. It unexpectedly appeared in this world again. When these news were released, it triggered a huge commotion. In addition, everyone heard that this blood-haired male was looking for ancient unmatched heroes, the frozen experts. He truly was a war-loving demon. He just moved like this, slaughtering his way into Sin Province, triggering a huge commotion. My name is Si Yenfei. People of this present age, who dares to fight against me? The scarlet-haired male was extremely wild, arrogant and untamed, slaughtering his way into Sin Province and issuing challenges in all directions. There were older generation figures whose eyes were ice cold, wishing to get rid of him, but even though this person easily got into fights and was incredibly wild, he was not careless. He continuously moved about. Moreover, he had a secret treasure on him that could split open heaven and earth, allowing him to immediately flee. He took the initiative to seek out enemies and would not remain at one place. The Great Heaven Burning Out shook the old and new. Now that the inheritor of this ancient inheritance appeared, it left the higher realms greatly shaken. All of the ancient sects had no choice but to pay attention to this. Unfortunately, Jiyu Jianyun and Chang Gongyang had long left Sin Province, so he threw himself at empty air, no one to fight a great battle against him. He could only depart. Somewhat interesting. This was still Sin Province. A white-clad person appeared, even the shoes and socks white, untainted by a speck of dust. His silver hair scattered down, shining with bright light. His face was handsome to an almost unrealistic level, more beautiful than many females. Six Crown King, Ning Chuan has appeared. He studied the Lightning Emperor's precious technique, so it was perfect to use now, allowing all parts of his body to transform, entering the great circle of the Supreme Expert realm. It was because Shahao felt a great pressure. Powerful individuals were emerging in large numbers, the kings of different eras all returning. He had to do what he could to push his strength to the absolute limit. Lightning is extremely mysterious, including even an immortal pool that contains mysterious precious liquid. I am going to seize this pool. Only, the greater one's strength was, the more terrifying the lightning tribulation one would face. He would have to walk on the brink of life and death. On a mountain peak, Shahao stood there, facing the heavens alone. He was adjusting himself, harmonizing his body's three energies so he could be at his peak. He already prepared to face the sky at his most powerful state, using lightning to refine himself, absorbing this life and death tribulation ordinary people would not even think about. Great winds stirred about. Woo-woo sounds whistled through the mountains. Many large heaven-reaching trees swayed about, expanses of grass, vines, and leaves dancing about like ocean spray, rising and falling. This was especially true for the mountain region. Pine trees rustled, sounding like the roaring of a great sea, carrying with it a boundless energy. The skies were changing. Electrical radiance became dense, black clouds gathering. They were moving faster, many of them about to collide. Shahao's battle clothes fluttered about in the great wind. He faced the crazy gale, standing here like a divine bamboo, face towards the heavens. His eyes became more and more brilliant. It's coming. Above the clouds, electrical arcs appeared. They extended in all directions, as if the black ink-dyed skies were finally going to be torn apart. Streak after streak of light suddenly appeared. Shahao took action, flying high into the sky. When he was 8 or 9 years old, he had previously obtained a drop of lightning tribulation liquid from Heaven Mending Pavilion, which had allowed him to undergo a transformation. If he could subdue an entire pool, then that would be unimaginable. Compared to his former self, his cultivation was just too much greater. He was now already much stronger. The lightning he could gather correspondingly increased by who knew how many times. In addition, back then, even though he entered the clouds together with lightning ancestor Mu Yang, that was after the thunderstorm had passed and the lightning was all about to wither away. Meanwhile, this time, he was going to face it at its peak. It was because this time, not only did he have to obtain the lightning tribulation liquid, he also needed to use the mysterious lightning arcs to refine himself, carrying out a deep cleansing. Of course, this was just what was recorded on bone books. Could he truly use it to refine himself? A single mistake would lead to eternal damnation. He took a deep breath, and then he continued to fly up. He looked at the oppressive dark clouds, already sensing the heavenly might stored within. It was like a vast body of water, one that could pour down at any moment. A streak of red light flashed past. A rather sinister-looking streak of electricity descended, landing on Shahao's body, once again lacerating his flesh and drawing a blossom of blood. Something isn't right. That streak was much powerful than the others. Shahao was shocked. The power of this lightning was increasing too quickly. The blood-colored electricity's power was tremendous. He seemed to have realized something. He suddenly raised his head, and then he was immediately shocked. What is that? He became stupefied. He actually saw a living creature. It disappeared with a flash, looking like a blood-colored pony, but also like a puppy. He couldn't see it clearly, as it disappeared too quickly. It was as if he saw a ghost. How could there be living creatures in the clouds? There was no way a group of creatures lived in that lightning, right? He had never heard about or seen such a thing before. What was going on? Shahao continued to fly upwards, the pressure he felt becoming greater and greater. The dark clouds above him were thick and heavy, as if millions of great mountains were crushing down, making it hard for one to even breathe. This was a pressure on the mind. Shahao was cautious. He couldn't do things like how it was recorded in the bone books already. After all, this era was completely different, lacking lightning tribulation. Meanwhile, he was about to take forceful action, so no one knew what was going to happen. With a shio sound, a streak of blue light flew over like an arrow. It was several li in length, descending from the clouds and hacking down on his body. Shahao coughed out a mouthful of blood, enduring another attack, not purposely resisting it, but rather using the flesh to passively receive it. It truly is difficult to bear, he said softly, wiping blood from the corner of his lips. In reality, Shahao still had no way of knowing just how powerful those individuals were. Immortal Palace Inheritors' true body, the ancient inheritance's hidden geniuses, and outstanding talents of emperor clans in the present world had yet to show themselves. Only afterwards came the unmatched heroes frozen since the ancient times. That was why he had to become powerful, or else he was going to be in great danger. Shahao rushed into the heavens, entering the clouds. In that instant, thunder radiance appeared in hundreds to over 1,000 streaks, not hacking over, but smashing downwards. It was too ferocious, appearing in large batches, directly submerging this place. Shahao now began to defend himself, no longer unbridledly letting the electrical arcs enter his body. He used bone texts to defend himself, and he also guided their power to sharpen himself. This was a life and death test. If it was any normal person, they would have long been blasted to ashes. Any streak of lightning would have hacked a supreme expert to death. This was a heavenly punishment that hadn't appeared for so many eras since the ancient times. Shahao faced these attacks using the Lightning Emperor's precious technique, diverting the electrical radiance for his own use and gathering lightning might. At first, things were going extremely smoothly, his skin sparkling and spiritual essence abundant, clearly able to sense himself becoming strong. However, soon after, he couldn't remain calm any longer. He stored too much lightning within him, to the extent where he couldn't hold on anymore. If he continued like this, he was going to explode. Glaring lightning entered the cauldron, blasting it until it released dang-dang sounds. His body was covered in blood, his mouth releasing muffled groans. It was extremely miserable. When the 1,000 streaks of lightning radiance gradually disappeared, Shahao released a blast of lightning just by opening his mouth, every inch of his flesh curling with electricity, filled with electrical energy. Even though he was injured, there was a new wave of power as well that nursed his injured body. The Lightning Emperor's precious technique operated, using the lightning to refine his body, strengthening the self, hurt so much, all of his pores were shining, flickering with electricity. This was a type of damage, but also a type of self-sharpening. Around his body, a lightning cauldron condensed, refining his flesh and spirit. Finally, he released a breath of air. The several thousand streaks of electricity passed. He made it through, passing the tribulation. Fortunately, even though it was powerful, it wasn't to the extent of making me lose my life. He was happy at the result. Of course, he knew that the tribulation corresponded to one's cultivation realm, not equivalent in power to the thunder-moving 9 heavens he used against the true deities that day. However, as soon as Shahao raised his head, the smile on his face froze, his expression going rigid. He released a strange cry. His entire body shone, frantically operating bone texts to resist the great tribulation in the sky. He thought that it had passed, about to end, but who would have expected that there was more in the sky, and even more powerful now? The lightning radiance flourished even more brilliantly than before, even more powerful. This all had only begun. What was this? Shahao didn't understand. This time, the lightning radiance was like a blade, as bright as snow. It continuously hacked down, flickering with radiance. Vicious energy overflowed into the heavens, blades to the body, lightning radiance to cleanse. Shahao took all of this head on. In addition, the space between his brows shone, primordial spirit emerging. It guided the thunder energy into his skull to carry out a refinement. This was the great young thunder radiance, extremely beneficial to the primordial spirit. It could allow him to become even more quick-witted, strengthening his divine senses. This was, on the premise that he could stick it through and not die. Soon after, Shahao had a taste of the consequences. When resisting this blade energy like lightning radiance, a large head appeared, opening its mouth to bite down on him. This made all of his fine hairs stand up straight. It was too strange and abrupt. In the clouds, within the lightning, there were actually creatures. It opened its bloody mouth to devour him. Did you send yourself over to be roasted because you knew I was hungry? When he got over his initial fear, his eyes quickly opened. Then, he took the initiative to slaughter outwards. This creature was extremely strange, like a lion, but also like a tiger. It had a pair of ox horns, and there was a pair of lightning wings on its back. It was incomparably vicious. The lightning-produced cauldron that already had its lid closed unexpectedly released a metallic sound, sealing him and this beast within to carry out a battle. He discovered with shock that during this battle, this monster became small, and the lightning wings on its back became dim. Meanwhile, Shahao felt as if he himself was becoming stronger, his flesh full of vitality, nurtured by a wave of special lightning energy. Refining the body like this, the wondrous uses are endless. He felt that even his primordial spirit was now more powerful, turning into a small figure that absorbed lightning radiance there, gradually strengthening. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.